Tyrannosaurus is one of the most famous dinosaurs of all times. His formidable name in Greek means Tyrannosaurus or lizard type in popular culture. This predator often appears as the embodiment of the power and horror of the Mesozoic era. In fact, his life and habits were much more interesting than it seen from Hollywood films. Time of existence. Tyrannosaurs lived at the end of the Cretaceous period, about 68 to 66 million years ago, shortly before the mass extinction of dinosaurs. They inhabited the territory corresponding to the modern westerns of North America. In the Cretaceous period, more than 2.5 billion Rex tyrannosaurs wandered around the ground. According to the results of the work of scientists from the University of California in Berkeley, published in April 2021 in the journal Science, on Earth for the entire period of existence of Rex tyrannosaurs, approximately 2.5 million years, could live and die out in the amount of 2.5 billion individuals. At any particular moment in time, the number of these giant predators, according to estimates, reached about 20,000. Previously, paleontologists believed it impossible to calculate such an ancient population. Based on the available information about the Tyrannosaurus, the scientists calculated one age of this predator reached 28 period equal to about 127,000 generations. In the aggregate, there were 2.5 billion tyrannosaurs. However, scientists admit that exact data may vary. Possible values fluctuate in the range from 140 million to 42 billion individuals. The family of Tyrannosaurid. Tyrannosaurus rex, the most famous type of genus Tyrannosaurus, belongs to the Tyrannosauridae family, large two-legged predators. This convention clan also includes Albertosaurus, Gorgosaur, etc., but precisely, Tyrannosaurus rex, the icon of tyrannosaurs due to its impressive appearance and many founds of its fossils. The first finds. For the first time, the remnants of the Tyrannosaurus were started at the end of the 19th century. Dinosaurus fever began, the period in which collectors actively searched and described ancient reptiles in the United States. Officially, Tyrannosaurus rex was described by paleontologist Henry Fairfield Osborn in 1905. Sensations of the XX century. The full or almost complete skeletons of the Tyrannosaurus of Rextal to find more often in the second half of the 20th century. One of the most famous finds is Sioux, discovered in 1990. This is one of the most preserved and large specimens, exhibited at the Field Museum, Chicago. Growth and length. Average estimates indicate that the adult Tyrannosaurus rex reached about 40 feet in length and stood at an altitude of 12 feet in the hip area. Some of especially large individuals could exceed 43 feet. Body weight. According to various calculations, the weight of adult estimates vary depending on the reconstruction. Large head. The jaws of a Tyrannosaurus, up to 5 feet long, were armed with powerful conical teeth. Their number is about 50 to 60 large teeth, each up to 8 inches long. Small, but strong hands. The front limbs of the Tyrannosaurus are still ramps and disputes. With a length of about 31 inches, they seem tiny compared to the body. Nevertheless, according to the research of bones and muscle attachments, hands had a powerful muscles and could hold the prey or help the ground. Hind limbs. The hind legs of the Tyrannosaurus were long and massive, well adapted for walking and, probably, relatively fast running. The feet are three-fingered, with large claws. Tail. A long, heavy tail served as a counterweight for a massive skull, helping to hold the balance on 2 legs. The skin. For a long time, the Tyrannosaurus was raked naked, with scaly structures, like modern reptiles. However, recent studies suggest that young individuals could have areas of feathers or down like cover, the characteristic of many theropod. In adults, possibly mainly preserved scaly skin with separate lean areas. Is so strong a bite? The jaws of the Tyrannosaurus were read by one of the most powerful among terrestrial animals. Powerful muscles, developed zygomatic arcs and a massive skull cupole provide a bite of about 35 to 57,000 newtons. This means that the Tyrannosaurus easily pierced the bones of his victim. Who was on the menu? In the open spaces of the late North America, large herbivores live, Triceratops, Ankylosaurus, and dinosaurs. Some of the surviving fossils indicate traces of the Dinosaur rex and tooths of the bones of these animals. Predator or screamer? For a long time, a dispute was led, however the Tyrannosaurus was an actator or preferred to eat carrion. Modern consensus, Tyrannosaurus rexby was more likely a station wagon, capable of actively hunting and eating the carcasses found. The tracking of the victim. Based on the structure of the ear and the olfactory shares of the brain, scientists believe that Tyrannosaurus raked excellent smell and hearing. Vision, too, was probably stereoscopic. The eyes were located so that floor of the field of vision for determine the distance to prey. Traces of teeth on the bones. Fossil bones of gadrosaurs and triceratops were found with traces of healed bits of Tyrannosaurus. This is evidence that victims managed to survive after the attack or were injured, but left. So, the hunt was sometimes long and not always 100% successful. The dispute about speed. Scientists have been arguing for many years about how quickly the Tyrannosaurus could run. Early models showed speed up to 40 to 50 kilometers per hour. More modern biomechanics calculations, taking into account the weight of the animal and stress on the bones, indicate a more modest 20 to 30 kilometers per hour. Energy intensity. To accelerate, the Tyrannosaurus racked tremendous energy. It is unlikely that he could maintain maximum running for a long time. Rather, the Tyrannosaurus made powerful jerks to attack. Walking gait. In the usual movement mode, Tyrannosaurus racked a leisurely step, about 5 to 8 kilometers per hour. Relatively long hind legs took such a step economical. To the massive tail and strong hips, the Tyrannosaurus racked the center of gravity between the hips. This allowed him to turn and change the direction of movement quite quickly. As for the essence of his dimensions. Eggs and nests. There are few direct finds of nests of the Tyrannosaurus of Rakpak. It is assumed that, like other theropods, he laid eggs in the ground or artisanally constructed nest of vegetation. The size of the eggs probably did not exceed 15 inches. Young tyrannosaurs, juvenile forms, were more harmonious and mobile. Their growth rate could reach 1.5 to 2 kilograms per day in adolescence. To maturity, approximately 18 to 20 years, many individuals reached impressive sizes. Tyrannosaurs have no direct evidence of parental guardianship, but indentate evidence was found in closely related the rod, for example, in trudentids. Perhaps females of the Tyrannosaurus rex guarded the masonry from small predators. According to the analysis of bone rings, analog of the annual rings in the bones, the maximum age of the Tyrannosaurus rex is approximately 28 to 30 years. In the largest specimens, traces of arthritis, infections, and other age-related changes are often found. In the late North America, the climate was warmer than modern, with vast plains, tropical forests, and small internal seas. Tyrannosaurus rex habitable in relatively moist territories, near rivers and nizzen. Of the large herbivores, which the Tyrannosaurus rex could eat, Triceratops and Torosaurus, from horned dinosaurs, Ankylosaurus, and armored giant, as well as Edmontosaurus. In addition to the rex Tyrannosaurus, other large predators live in the ecosystem, such as Dacopterodoraptor, but it's smaller and probably specialized in other types of prey. The Tyrannosaurus was worried the top predator of his environment. The so-called Chalk Inner Sea, Western Interior Seaway, was divided by the North American continent into large islands. the ancestors of the Tyrannosaurus rex in the west, laernulaer, and the spread on. In terms of the volume and shape of the brain, reconstituted from the cranial cavity, at Tyrannosaurus rex was a relatively large brain for reptiles. The olfactory shares response site for the scent are especially well developed. Probably, Tyrannosaurus rex by the smell, this helped him to track prey or carrion at large distances. Contrary to the myth from the Jurassic Park, which stated that Tyrannosaurus rex sees fixed objects, modern studies indicate he had binocular vision and quite high acuity. Judging by the fossils, the inner was well developed, which allowed the tyrannosaur to catch frequency sounds and move to the source. It is difficult to talk about intelligence in human understanding, but the overall indicator, EQ, was higher than that of many other large dinosaurs. The Rex Tyrannosaurus probably possessed more advanced behavior than, say, some predatory lizards of previous eras. The close relatives of the Tyrannosaurus yutyrannus from the early chalk of China, a feathery cover was discovered. This suggests that the common ancestor of the Tyrannosaurid could be covered with feathers. The question of how birds of heart LD adult state remains open. Modern paleontologists are inclined to the idea that large theropods, including Rex Tyrannosaurus, were partially warm below-dead, mesothermal. They were able to actively accumulate and maintain heat due to the large volume of the body and intensive metabolism. The combination of heat below-dreadness, developed sensory organs and large jaws media type Tyrannosaurus rex, a very effective predator capable of pursuing prey, and not just sneaking or hunting from an ambush. In some related tyrannosaurs, for example, Albertosaurus, bone accumulations were found, which gave assumed group behavior, but direct evidence of the pack Tyrannosaurus rex net. Like many theropods, the Tyrannosaurus rex ensure low load frequency sounds, roar or mumble, although it's difficult to imagine an accurate voice. Modern reptiles and birds help to recreate the approximate picture of sound signals. On the bones of some tyrannosaurs, traces of bits are found, which could apply other Tyrannosaurus of the rex fights or resources. Bitch or alpha moths could have fierce contracts. It is likely that the Tyrannosaurus rex estimated the relatively large hunting area. Due to the high need for meat, to maintain metabolism, they needed extensive lands with a sufficient number of large herbivores. The Tyrannosaurus rex and other Neptune dinosaurs died out about 66 million years as a result of a catastrophic event of the border of chalk and Paleogene, presumably, after the fall of a large asteroid, Chicxulub crater in Mexico, and subsequent climatic changes. Being a crown of a voltzi, a large predatory the rod, tyrannosaurs disappeared with their entire environment. But the birds, which were the branch of the, continued to evolve and stay with us to this day. One of the most complete skeletons, Tyrannosaurus rex. This all paleontologists to study in detail the structure of the skull and skeleton, as well as the features of the pathology of diseases and engines. Mill. Another famous copy found in South Dakota. He had healed damage to the vertebrae and skull's indication contracts with other predators. In 2005, a group of scientists led by Mary Schweitzer announced the discovery of structures resembling blood vessels and cells in the Tyrannosaurus rex. This caused a wave of discussions and a new surge in the interest in the study of dinosaurs at the molecular level. It is not possible to extract full DNA from dinosaurs, extinct 66 million years ago. DNA is extremely unstable. But the analysis of protein residues from the bones of the Tyrannosaurus rexnum is on their phylogenetic proximity to the birds, especially the curid. The most famous image of the Tyrannosaurus rex is from a series of films Jurassic Park/World. This dinosaur has become a real symbol of the world of the Jurassic period, although he lived, steeply speaking, in the Cretaceous period. Dozens of figures, toy models, expo sites and museums and excavates for tourists make a Tyrannosaurus rex, probably the most recognizable dinosaur. Its silhouette and huge teeth are used to attract visitors and children to paleontology. With the growth of new discoveries about plumage, speed and behavior, the appearance of the cinematic Tyrannosaurus is laid up. In modern reconstructions, it may look more sophisticated and partially ahead. Studies of the Tyrannosaurus were raphivilia on the development of paleontology of vertebrates and biomechanics. This dinosaur is a great example of how can recreate the lifestyle of extinct creatures in fossilized bones and rare imprints of soft tissues. Tyrannosaurus is not just a movie star. It continues to be the object of close attention of scientists from around the world. New technologies allow you to penetrate deeper into the secrets of its evolution, behavior, and physiology. Studying the bones, the remnants of fabrics, the place where these predators lived and hunted, paleontologists restore the surprisingly complex picture of the late aided world. Over the past century, the idea of the evil land shack, which only did is scoured in search of food, replaced with the understanding that Tyrannosaurus ragged a thinly organized, highly adaptive predator. He probably possessed behavioral difficulties, including possibly a certain sociality, and had arsenal of biological advantages from a perfect smell. Ultimately, the fate of this giant was predetermined by a large-scale extinction at the turn of the Chalk and Paleogene. But in the cultural and scientific space, the Tyrannosaurus remains an immortal symbol of the prehistoric era, continuing to excite the imagination of people of all ages. Thank you for watching this video. Put your finger up and leave the comments. Do not forget to subscribe to the channel right now, and also click in the bell so as not to miss new and interesting videos from the Real channel Unreal.